I'm Patrick out in Politico. It is now time to turn the table with the Sunday show host, as we do every Friday. This week's topics: the president remarks on the NSA's data gathering, Chris Christie's bridgegate enters week 2, and what do we make of all these political retirements? Joining us to talk about that and more, Bloomberg News' Julianna Goldman and CBS News' Nancy Cordes. What are we sort of finding out about where the president stands on obviously this classic balance between security versus privacy? Has he sort of looked back on some of the revelations over the past year and felt that, in fact, the NSA is, in fact, gathering too much?
Yeah, I mean, the big question here is what can the government, it's not just what the government can do, but what it should do, Patrick. And so I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about the balance that the president is trying to strike here. And going back, I mean, really the changes that he's announcing focus on the bulk data collection, the metadata collection, and whether or not that information, we're talking about phone records, we're not talking about content, but whether or not that information should be housed at the National Security Agency in control of the government. Immediately, the change for this program is going to be that the NSA now has to go and get a court order from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court in order to access any of that data. So the White House is saying that they're making dramatic changes to this program, but really the major change immediately is having to get this court order. Well,
and heading up to New Jersey, we're sort of at the end of 2 weeks of looking at Chris Christie and Bridgegate, as it's been dubbed. Where do things stand now with the political fallout of that? Have things gotten better for Chris Christie this week, or in fact, as more news has trickled out and as more investigations have been launched, has his political fortunes sunk a bit more than perhaps they even did last week?
I think we're kind of in a holding pattern, Patrick. On one hand, he has come out very forcefully and defended himself, come out very forcefully in that State of the State and said, you know, I'm turning the page. I am going to do what the state needs me to do, but I'm going to cooperate with all of these investigations. I'm going to make sure that my staff cooperates. So in that sense, he has done a good job defending himself. On the other hand, as you pointed out, there are several investigations. Congress is asking questions as well, so this isn't going to go away. And I think a lot of Republicans in particular are really taking a wait-and-see attitude here. They aren't rushing to Christie's defense for the most part, but they aren't discounting him either. They want to see if these investigations turn up any evidence that he was involved in this plot or that he encouraged his staffers to pursue revenge like this in any other instances.
Well, speaking of political fortunes, we've seen a lot of politicians of late say that their political fortunes are perhaps coming to an end. A lot of people are retiring. Tom Coburn, most recently, obviously, due to health reasons. But we've seen a particularly notable number of politicians say that they will not seek re-election. Do we have any sort of sense right now, just based on the demographics of some of these states and some of these districts, of which party stands to benefit the most from some of these retirements?
You know, it seems right now like a lot of people are retiring because this is sort of the season for retirement announcements. You get a lot of these announcements in December and January, and we're seeing some notable members of Congress, some long-serving members, some chairmen of committees saying that they are going to be moving on. So it seems like there's this big turnover, but year to date, we still have fewer retirement announcements than we've seen in some other years. So it's a little soon to say which party is going to benefit. Originally, it looked like there were a lot of Republican retirements and that Democrats might benefit, but now we've seen some Democrats like Jim Moran of Virginia announce he's retiring, and so it's kind of a wash at the moment.
That's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. You can check out our full interviews online at politico.com/turnthetable. Have a great weekend.